Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. In the last part of this video, we added in the basic jail cells to our jail here, where when you press P, it teleports the player directly into it and then they're in jail, which is perfect. So in today's tutorial, we're going to look at improving upon that. We're going to add some transitions to that and some sounds so it all sounds a little bit better and it doesn't just instantly teleport the player there, it like fades to black and comes back out. And then we're also going to look at teleporting NPCs to jail when you can, I don't know, tell them to go to jail or something for now, and in the future make a guard do it, or if you capture a thief or something then we can do it. So let's get started. So here we are with our jail cells. So let's start off with the easiest one, which is the sounds. So I'm going to come to our jail and open it up. And I've actually found some sounds from a pack I had. Unfortunately, I can't distribute them because I bought the pack, so it's a licensed one. But we've got the door opening sound and the door closing sound, which I think will be pretty cool. So how do we go about playing these when we open or close the door? So I'm going to come back to my jail cell and then I'm going to jump back to the viewpoint. I'm actually going to add a sound into this here. I'll click add and I'll type audio, and you can see because I've already got my door closed, it's trying to add an audio component with it already attached, which is fine. I'll click that and I'll just call it cell audio. And for now, I'm just going to keep it ticked there, but I'm going to scroll down and untick auto activate so it doesn't play as soon as we load the game. The reason we're adding an audio component here and not just using play at location is because it allows us to do a variety of things, such as make a person cough from inside the jail cell and stuff like that. But it also allows us to add attenuation settings, which basically means instead of playing the sound so the entire world can hear it, if you're 15 buildings away, you don't want to hear somebody open the jail cell. That's not going to work. So I'm going to come and tick override attenuation there. And this sphere is, if you're inside here, you will hear it 100%. And then the more you get away from that sphere inside this big sphere, you'll hear it less and less and less. And then outside of this sphere, you won't hear it at all. Well, as you can see at the moment, we're really far away from this, so it doesn't need to be that big. I'm going to come and set the fall off distance from 3,600 to about 1,500. So if you're this far away, you'll hear it open, and as you get closer, it'll get louder until you're in here, then you'll just hear it in the maximum volume. It'll still be 3D, so if you turn around, you'll hear it behind you, but it makes it a little bit more realistic, and you could even shrink this even more if you wanted to. So now with that, I'm going to go to the event graph, and I'm going to create a new function called play sound, and then I'm going to drag our cell audio in, and I'm going to drag off up here and do set sound, and I'm going to connect that to there and drag the new sound into the play sound function there. And then from here I'm going to drag off cell audio and simply call play. And now if we jump back to our event graph, we can now, instead of having to call those two calls for the audio each time, we can simply just come in and call play sound like that. So for the jail opening, we just want to call my metal door open, and then for closing we just want to call metal door closing. Now it will work best if you have sounds that match the length of your opening or closing. So if your opening or closing is 2 seconds, try to find sounds that last 2 seconds, otherwise it's going to sound really odd. And then likewise for ours, it's half a second, so these audio clips are actually less than half a second long. So we don't actually have a way to test this just at the moment. So I'm going to jump back into my player here, and on the debug key where we randomly teleport the player, I'm just temporarily going to break off of the random and send character to jail. And I'm just going to do a get off of it, and then I'm simply going to call check is it open and connect it up, and then we can toggle between it. I'm not going to worry about if it's unlocked or locked at the moment because we're just testing it for now. So if it's not open, then we want to open the door. If it is open, then we want to close the door. This is just simply going to allow us to test the sounds. So even though we're a good distance away, if we press P, you can't hear the sound even though something should be opening or closing. So if we run in closer and press it, you can see we can hear it, so that's good. So what's opening and closing? Not that one. There we are. So we've pressed P again. There we go. So my audio still isn't perfect, but it does add to realism just that little bit more. Perfect. So now that we've added the sounds, let's work on transitioning the player from outside to inside. So if we connect back up the old way, which is this one here, so we can press the P key to transition the player into the jail. So you can see if we press the P key, the player just gets teleported into it. And it's okay, but we're in third person and it looks really weird. If you think of a game like Metal Gear Solid, it zooms in to first person when you're in closed environments, which can look a lot better. If you're using ALS like I'm doing here, it's actually relatively simple to do, but if you're not, then you're going to need to create your own first person camera that you take over, which if you just go to YouTube and type in third and first person cameras, you'll find the tutorial really easy, and in 10 minutes you'll have it set up. So in ALS, all you simply need to do is drag off of where we send the character to jail, and then you simply call set view mode. And on here we can set what view mode we want, so we want it to be first person, and I'll tick force. And before you follow any tutorial, I'd recommend looking at first person cameras and true first person cameras. So ALS uses something called true first person mode. You'll see a lot of indie games and some AAA games. When you're in a first person game, you'll look down and you won't have a body, and that's just because you are a floating camera. So in ALS, I can actually show you out here, you can see we're in third person. If I switch to first person by holding C, you can see we can see our body. If you look down in real life, you can see your body, unless you're a floating head, in which case please contact me, I have a million questions. But yes, you can look down and you can see your character, you can see your actions, you can see your shadow. This is called true first person. You'll often see first person games like the Unreal starter template where you won't have a body, you'll just be floating arms or a floating camera. So pick what you want in your game. It might be that you don't want to see your character at all, in which case go down the basic route. True first person does take a little bit more to set up, but it does give a nice result if that's what you want. But now we've added it, if we teleport to jail, you can see we are in first person mode. How cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? We are in jail. We cannot escape. We are locked in. It does glitch out every so often if I try to run forward super quick. Look, you can see the culling there, but that's fine. There we go. In a future tutorial, we'll look at unbinding half the ALS keys as well. So at the moment, we can still access our inventory, which we will also clear in a future tutorial. And then you can jump, you can attack. You don't really need that stuff. So what we'll do is in a future tutorial, we'll look at removing all the input from the player and just keeping them restricted to very few things. So now that's done, how do we stop it just flickering straight into the jail? Because it looks a bit unrealistic, and we don't want a guard to come up to us and goes, right, you're going to jail, and then teleport, you're straight in jail. That's just going to look really weird. So what I'm going to do is come back to my ALS character here, and before we get the cell location, and before we actually set the player and set the view mode, what I'm going to do is drag all this across a little bit. I'm going to right click and do get player camera manager, which is a built-in Unreal function to get you your main camera. And I'm going to drag off the return value and do start camera fade. And I'm going to connect it up to this one here. And this is a built-in way in Unreal we can fade a camera to black. So from alpha is 0 is fully transparent and 1 is black. So we want to go straight to black because we want to fade it in. The duration I will set to 0.5. Color with black. Should it fade the audio? Yeah, why not? And should it hold? That means as soon as it finishes the duration, it will keep it black. And we do want that until after we've teleported. Awesome. So now that we've done this, we need a way to determine when the camera fade stops. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Unreal actually gives you a way to figure out when a camera fade starts and stops. So we're going to have to use the old school method of using a timer, but that's really easy to do. I'm just going to drag off this start camera fade, and I'm going to type set timer, and I'm going to do by event here. The event, I will just drag underneath this and do add custom event, and I will call it camera fade finish. The time I will set to the same timer as 0.5. It shouldn't loop because we don't want it to, and we don't really need to change anything. And then what I'm going to do is drag these three values down here and plug it into the camera fade finished like so. And then the jail cell, I'll just reroute it so it looks a little bit nicer. And now, as soon as we get sent to jail, it will fade the camera out, wait 0.5 seconds until it's faded, and then teleport the characters like so. But then after the character's been teleported, so right at the end, we've set it to first person mode, we will drag off of this and we will do start camera fade again, but this time we're going to reverse it. So we're going to set from alpha will be 1 because we're currently all blacked out, we can't see it. And then we're going to go to alpha and we'll set it to 0.5 like so. Should fade the audio, so it'll fade it back in, and then hold when finished. Yes, we want it to hold so it doesn't go back to black. And that should be it, ladies and gentlemen. So if we compile and save now, this time when we start the game, if we press the P key, it should fade to black, then teleport us, then fade back out when we're in jail. And there's plenty of other stuff you can do inside there. So while it's black, you could play the jail closing sound and some other bits like that. So if we press P, the camera fades out and we fade back in and we're in jail. Look, how cool is that? We press it again, fade to black, and it works in just like that. So it's a nice little effect, but it really adds to it. And there's so much more you can add to it. You can add sounds, you can hide your UI, which is probably something we'll do eventually. But for as a basic transition, it does work very nicely. So So the final part we're going to look at is we actually need a way to teleport NPCs to jail as well. So I'm going to come and find my BP NPC. I'm going to use my random roaming NPC, my BP NPC, and I'm going to come and implement those jail interfaces. They're sent to jail and they're removed from jail here. So what do we want to do when the NPC gets sent to jail? Well, the first thing we want to do is grab the character movement and we'll just set movement mode to none, like that. Stop them moving around. After this, we're going to drag off and we will also stop movement immediately and we'll connect it up here. Now you might be wondering why I'm not doing this to the player, and by default when the player is going to get sent to jail, they're going to be in dialogue with a guard saying, hey, you're going to jail, or they're going to be knocked out. So the death or the guard is going to stop them moving anyway, which is why I'm more than happy to not do it there, because then we'll just be doubling it up. We just may as well leave the other things to tell the player what to do. We've just got debug code in at the moment. So now that we've stopped the character from moving, the next thing we want to do is basically come and borrow the teleportation part from the player. So the get cell location and set actor location. I'm going to come and paste this after the stop movement, and I'm going to connect it to the cell at the end there. That'll teleport them into that cell. Now, for now, this is going to be okay for me. It'll just teleport the guard to jail. What you could also do once we get the AI set up properly is actually have them walk with guards as a prisoner to jail. Or you could put them in one of those portable jails in a cart and then they'll transfer over outside of cutscene kind of thing. But for now, we're just going to basically teleport them there. And we don't need to fade to black or play any animations on them because it's an NPC. We don't really matter about it. We don't really care about it. So I'm going to come back to my ALS character, and where we've got the P key here, let's drag some space down. So we've got this up here, which opens the doors. We've got this one here, which adds a character to jail. But instead of self-sending to jail, what we're actually going to do is right-click and do get all actors of class. And I'll add in my BP NPC. I'll drag off of this and do get, and we'll connect it to the character like so. And we'll connect this up to the add character and that one up to there. So what we're basically doing is we're pressing P. We're getting all the jails that are in our vicinity. And eventually we'll improve this by getting only the closest jails in a vicinity and then get the cells from there. Then we're coming down and picking a random cell. We're also getting all the NPCs and getting the first one and then adding them to jail, which should trigger the jail to add the character in, and then it should call the character and say send them to jail, which will call our NPC code to teleport them there. So let's give it a try. So I'm going to come and drag in my BP NPC just right in front of me here, and then hopefully they'll be the one that gets picked. So let's play it. So now if we press the P key, you should see that character has disappeared. Where have they gone? We can look around and they should be, we can see on the compass. There they are, ladies and gentlemen. The NPC is now in jail. They can't get out. How cool is that? There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We now have some cool sounds, a transition for the player. We now put the player in first person mode and can now send NPCs to jail as well. How cool is that? In the next part, we'll look at actually adding some escaping mini games. We'll build a system where you can randomly pick a bunch of mini games because you don't want it to always be the same. So you always have to pick lock from a guard because then that's going to get repetitive. So we're going to build a small system where we can build a bunch of different mini games, and when you get sent to jail, it will pick a random mini game to use. So it could be you have to find the key to the trap door, you have to lockpick the door, you have to steal from a guard, you can bribe the guard, all sorts of stuff like that. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a shorter video than last time because the first one was setting up all the key stuff, so now it should be a lot easier to fit smaller bits in. If you need any assistance, please let me know below. My name is Decryption and I will see you next time.